Hey, everybody. I have two guests today. I have Mr. Michael Fleming and I have Mr. Denham Bird. We are going to talk about California e-commerce sales tax, the update for 2019. We titled this The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Because sales tax in general is something that has good, bad, and ugly. So if you haven't had a chance to ever meet Michael or hear him speak, I suggest you look up some other stuff that he's done. I consider you one of the more foremost experts on this. You stay on top of all of this information. So to get us started, let's talk a little bit about California, what's going on in California. It's one of the largest states. It's where most of our inventory is going. It's where most of our inventory is being sold. What's happening there with regards to sales tax?
Well, let's start off with the good. That's always a great way to start. And as of October 1st of this year, Amazon is required, and the other marketplaces are required to start collecting taxes for third-party sellers. If you're only selling on a marketplace, then at that point, once the marketplace starts collecting, there'll be no further requirement for you to collect tax going forward. If you're already registered, you can get deregistered. So a lot of good news along that front.
Yeah, and you said there's 12 states that Amazon is currently collecting for. There's 28 states that have passed this legislation, but the enacting date hasn't occurred. So we're definitely moving towards a system where if you're a pure marketplace seller, Amazon or any marketplace, the marketplace will be responsible for the collecting of the tax. Okay, that's the good, but there must be some bad or some ugly.
Well, if you're selling on more than just a marketplace, then you still have to deal with sales tax. That's the downside of this. And with the economic nexus that came into play after the Wayfair case last year, we no longer need a physical presence. That's going to require sellers to be collecting in a lot more states. Right now, there are only 3 states that haven't passed some type of economic nexus, and that's Kansas, Missouri, and Florida. We expect them to do either later this year or first part of next year. So that's part of the bad. The other part of the bad is some states, specifically California, they're still going after, Amazon sellers for that past exposure. There are a lot of sellers out there who have already received letters. I'm hearing that there's another round of letters going out there. And in my conversations with California, they're going to start turning people over to auditing.
That's the bad. This
news.
is where we had kind of discussed this beforehand. We called this be careful what you wish for, which leads to the ugly, which is that as soon as Amazon starts remitting my sales tax for the state of California, Amazon's going to go, Jeff Cohen is now remitting sales tax for the state of California. He just submitted $10,000 in sales tax, but he's never submitted any before that. I wonder what was happening before that. And it's going to trigger that. So, Denham, what can somebody do if they're trying to understand what possibly their back taxes, or let's not worry about the taxes, let's worry about their liability. They want to understand what their past sales in a particular state look like to understand, how big of a problem this could be.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good question. So I think the best place to start is basically the sales channel. So if you're selling through Amazon or through Shopify or one of the other large marketplaces, you're going to want to go into there to kind of have a look where the inventory is being held, particularly on Amazon, where they have warehouses all over North America. You're going to want to find that information. You can find that particularly in Seller Central and Amazon. And if you're using any other sales channels, like you use 3PLs and everything else, you can kind of work that out.
But if you ever, but that information is not very granular and it's hard, and that's why a lot of people use your software, right? A lot of people use your software because they need to actually break that down. So I know you have 2 special things within your software that can kind of help people with that. So why don't you just kind of share that if people are kind of looking for the shortcut, or at the very least to tell their accountant or their bookkeeper what they should be doing with that information?
Hugely. So in A2X, we've created this tool called Where Stock, which essentially will pull through from Amazon where all of your stock is in every single state, in different warehouses all across North America, or across the whole world, actually, so that you can determine your liability on basically one PDF report. Super duper easy.
Awesome. So, Michael, let's kind of wrap this up by saying, okay, great things are coming, right? We've all been asking for the marketplaces to collect this information. The good, it's coming. 28 states have passed the legislation. It's happening in California as of October 1st. The bad, that means that pursuing back taxes and penalties and interest may be coming too. So let's wrap everybody up here with what are steps we can take to avoid the ugly?
If you haven't been contacted by California yet, and you think that they may be contacting you, or that there's big exposure there, what you can do is what's called a voluntary disclosure agreement, and that limits the look back period. I mean, if you've had inventory in California since 2012, they're going to go back to 2012 and want all of that back tax, penalty, and interest. Whereas if you can do a VDA, and you can only do it if they hacked you, they'll only go back 36 months. So you can literally cut your potential exposure in half. And then on top of that, they'll still waive the penalty. So that's a way to be proactive. If you've already gotten a letter that's not available, they have two other programs. One's called a managed audit, which will go back to the day that your inventory began, but it'll waive 50% of the interest and the penalty. So if you've got a lot of exposure, that's a great program. If you don't have that much exposure, then you probably want to look at one of their, it's a 1032 program, whereas you just file the back returns and then they'll waive the penalty. You still have to pay 100% of the interest. So those are the three ways that you can cut your potential.
Can I add a fourth way?
Sure.
Yeah, I just call you. but and listen, I think that when it comes down to it, as Amazon sellers, that the complexity of bookkeeping, the complexity of taxes, the complexity of this part of our business is something that should be left up to a professional. And so whether you're going to seek out A2X, whether you're going to seek out Michael Fleming and his group, or whether you're going to talk to your CPA or accountant about it, there's a lot of rich information that's out there. And I think that as sellers, we need to continue to be informed, to continue to understand what's happening, what our rights are, and be asking questions. So thank you guys for sharing with me today. And if you guys have any questions or comments, go ahead and write them below, and we'll keep an eye out and answer those. Thanks, everybody.